If your video isn't an MOV, then the VideoPoint software won't work. So you either have to convert your video or you can use a different piece of software. Also, if you're using Mac OS X Lion, then the VideoPoint software isn't supported anymore. It doesn't support PowerPC options. To find this other one called Tracker, it's free. And if you go into Google, for example, and put in Tracker Physics, it's the first link that comes up. Okay. Then on the Tracker website, you can download whichever version you're interested in. Okay. Now I've already done that, so I'll bring up Tracker. Okay. Here it is loading. I'll maximize. Okay, it keeps the video window rather small. That's okay. And we'll import our video. Now, I have one from one of the students, and we have an AVI file. So see, it's not an MOV file, but we can still use that in Tracker. Okay, so I'll open. It brings up a Shuggle error. It says not all errors are fatal. This one doesn't really matter for this case, so you can just close that window, and you can see the videos on the screen. We have our timeline bar down at the bottom here, and we can of course play the video and watch it if we like. But we want to analyze the video. The first thing we do is put on the axes. So there's this button up at the top, puts on your axes. I could line up my axes right now with the tennis ball up here, but actually there's some camera shake in this video. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to find the spot where the ball is released, right around there. And then I'm going to move my axes so that it goes right onto the tennis ball as best I can. And there's still going to be a little bit of change in the X coordinate because of the camera shake from here to when the ball hits the ground. But that's about the best we can do with this video. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is this button up here where the mouse is. We can click that and choose calibration stick. Now this we can put over top of the meter stick. The meter stick is a little bit slanted. I tried to hold it upright, but I guess it's not completely upright, but it's okay for a distance. So we've got our meter here, so the video is calibrated. Now we're set up okay, so the next thing we have to do is to lock our coordinate system. Then we can't accidentally move our axes, which would ruin our results. Okay. And then there's this other button up here. It says clip settings if you hold your mouse over it. And we want to tell it what our start frame and stop frame is. Now I found already the start frame, frame 39, it says here in the bottom left corner. So I'll put in 39. And if I continue the video along, then I can watch the ball, let it bounce. It's okay to bounce. Make sure it's finished. And that's what's frame 63. I'll put in 65, just get a little bit longer. Okay, and then I'll click OK. So now you can see there are two black triangles at the bottom representing the length of the clip that I'm going to analyze. I brought back to the first one to start. And the next thing to do is we want to create a point mass. Okay. Now on the point mass, if we click where it says Mass A, then we get a list of options, and it should work just fine to use Auto Track. If you use another option, then you can locate the ball in each frame, but it takes a little bit more time. Auto Track is a little bit faster. So here's the Auto Track window. It says, please click the video feature you wish to auto track. I want the tennis ball. So I put my circle above the tennis ball, and you can see here it shows a fuzzy tennis ball inside of a larger circle. You can reduce the size of the circle. You want to get a nice bright area of the tennis ball if you can. That should be fine. Okay, and then target. This is where it's going to show the location of the tennis ball as it falls. So you don't want it to be right on top of the tennis ball usually, because then you can't see it very well. So I just choose off to the side a little bit. So you just click on the screen a little bit off to the side. Then on your acceptance, it tells you about the tolerance that's willing to accept for a location match. 4 is fine. So we go to search. If look ahead is selected, then what it does is it takes this red box and it tries to see the location of the ball as it's falling through it, and it adjusts the red box to the bottom. If that should work fine. If it's not working very well for you, if you're getting strange points, then you can adjust the size of this red box by the corner, and you can make it longer or wider, which would increase the search area for when it tries to find the tennis ball as it moves down the screen. But as long as look ahead is selected, it should work okay as long as you had a good match with your tennis ball, because there's nothing else that's really the same shade as the tennis ball. Okay, so then you click search, and you see it's following the tennis ball down the screen, bounce back up. It looks like it's okay, so I'm going to click close. Now, over on the side of the screen here, you see two things. You see a graph now, and you see a table. Now, I want to change the table to plot view, so I'll click on plot view, and you see it doesn't look like a very good graph. But look at the coordinates that it's using. It's using t and x. We don't want x. X is just the camera shake. So this is actually a graph showing you the camera shake. Okay, so instead, if we click on the letter x here, then I can change that to the y component. And now look at the graph, much nicer. Of course, at the bottom, this is where the tennis ball bounced, right at the bottom. So we know this arm of the graph is not what we want. We want the first arm. So we can locate where the ball bounced quite easily. And then we know for sure that we've got a finishing point. Okay? So the data that you want for Excel then, if you go back to the table, is not the X column, it's the Y column. So you want the T and the Y. So we start around 0, depending on how we set our axes, and then it goes lower, 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 lower until it finally bounces. Okay, so it seems to bounce right around here. Okay, so that's the data that you would use in Excel for your distances. And of course, these are in centimeters. Okay, and that's all there is to using Tracker. If you choose to use Tracker instead of VideoPoint, or if you have to, depending on your operating system that you're using.